Because the retailer is an example of why mergers actually work, Ben.
Sure, I mean, that's fine, but that's when it's a true merger and a true acquisition between two companies saying, okay, look, there's way too many of us, let's join together and have better buying power. I'm all for that. That is the American dream, capitalism. But when you have companies that are trying to mutate and do something to get the goodwill of the government or taxes or a bailout, and changing what they do that they've never done before to accomplish it. You watch, next year, we're going to have some big failures because the government's not going to be able to step in, and that's when the real problems are going to happen.
You know, I got to switch gears here. Let's call an audible for a moment, because we had Glenn Beck on. I like to use sports analogies, and Glenn is outrageous, and we love him for certain things, and for certain things we think is off the wall, but he causes a lot of anxiety, and he's comparing what we're seeing. He was comparing it to Nazi Germany and what's going on, and it gets a little out of control here. But what he's saying is what happened to the foundation of this country, where it was about free capital markets? Is that fair? Have we given up failure and free capital markets? Is the American dream alive and kicking? What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. I think innovation is what will bring us back, actually. And I think that's the key. Is that I think some of these companies, the startups. I'm from Silicon Valley. Companies start up in large part knowing that eventually they can be purchased or merged into a more efficient infrastructure, and so they don't develop all of that infrastructure. I think it's very much alive, and certainly where I live, innovation is still key.
Congressman?
Well, I'll tell you, I got to be honest with you, I disagree. I think it's punch drunk right now, and I'll tell you why. I think there's a lot of people out there that right now don't know how to succeed because they've told that they cannot do it without the government being involved in their lives. This last presidential campaign was about two things: either you deciding you can do it on your own, or being able to, or needing the government to be able to accomplish something, and that's what won. But I think there's a lot of people, especially young entrepreneurs, that are so terrified of starting their own business, or they think they can't do it because they can't get a loan, there's no money, even though they haven't tried, and it's making people stop being dreamers and thinkers and trying to accomplish things because they're terrified right now of this market.
I just don't believe that, but go ahead.
Well, I think what we probably can both agree on is that if the government had been the mezzanine and angel capital and venture capital in Silicon Valley, there wouldn't be a Silicon Valley.
Right. Yep.
By definition, the way government brings their money in drives away private capital. Public-private is never about that. It's about any private money comes in only if, oh yeah, all the risk is on the public side. That's not what made Silicon Valley. And freedom to fail and fear of failure is what causes people to work 16 and 18-hour days so they don't fail.
Congressman, you know, just before we wrap up here, you, as one of the lawmakers in D.C., are one of the ones who are being attacked for not letting the free flow of capital markets. I mean, I don't know how you feel about this, but I do think some of what we're seeing is not that the American dream is dead, it's just that confidence right now is so beatered. You know, people are batting down the hatches, they're nervous, they don't know what's coming because all they hear is the doom and gloom story.
What's amazing is if you had this $1.2 trillion, subprime market, and if it had been allowed to hemorrhage, the rest of the market stabilized, but allow that to hemorrhage, and if the underlying assets are worth half, we'd have a $600 billion total write-off. You've got $120 billion a year that is being made by the same organizations. It's not insurmountable. So if you take a worst case of everything going wrong, as soon as someone came in to buy those assets at their fair current market, the actual trade, the markets would have righted themselves. Instead, we've got $6 trillion at Freddie and Fannie on the line. We've got $1.2 trillion here, 600 and some billion of the 700 billion spent. You realize we've spent and guaranteed and invested far more than the problem we said we were attacking. That's what government does when you let them their nose under the tent flap. They just keep coming in. Now the problem is they're even saying they're going to refuse to leave even if they can get their money back with full interest.
It's an unbelievable story. Brent, Congressman Issa, and Ben, that was our first and best roundtable. Gentlemen, thank you very much. I hope you guys will come back. We can argue about a couple other things, too. All right, guys, let's send it over to Connell. We've got some more breaking news. Connell?
Well, another bank missing